Dreadlord with a crossbow is definitely an option you can take in Total War Warhammer 3. Very unusual option, but for today, with Reinhard Rohan against Calamity's Ogres, unconventional might just be what you need, as Ogres are quite a strong faction and in general do very well in this matchup. But let's see what both players have brought. We've got a whole mess of Noblars, including Pigback Riders, plus looks like Lead Belcher, some Man-Eater pistols, including the Regiment of Renown, Powder Guts, Piggyback Knights to back them up, and then out on the side got some Saber Tusk packs. So yeah, actually looking for a bit of a shooting build with these Man-Eater pistols. Not bad at all. As for Rider of Rohan here, yeah, the Dreadlord crossbow definitely can get some good range damage with the breath attack and with his armor-piercing multi-shot crossbow. He's also got this volley of dark arrows, which we've seen once used already. And let's see where that lands. Chill of Centaur also, I don't remember if the Hydra got fixed in the last hotfix. I know I've made a video about it a while back. Let's see how it does in today's game. We've also got a Sorcerer's Lore of Beasts, Bleak Swords, a bunch of Cold One Knights, Great Anti-Large, and some spears. More swords than spears, which is not what I was expecting, perhaps, but given the prevalence of Noblar spams right now, makes sense. Speaking of Noblar spams, Frozen Noblar spam here as this Pigback Rider gets nice side-shotting breath attack from the Chill of Centaur. It doesn't do as much damage as I thought maybe it would initially, but still, the Pigbacks and the Noblars do have pretty low leadership, so the Chill of Centaur is having terror. Going to be super essential at this point. We do see one Bleak Sword get some damage from Noblars, and the range damage is going to become pretty real for the Dreadlord Sword and Crossbow as he kind of hangs around and returns fire. Going to do a little breath attack here, so yeah, focusing the breaths. Oh, again, not the best contact, but still, it is contact. Focusing those breaths on trying to take out the Pigbacks and the Noblars makes a lot of sense. There's so much chaff to try and clear through here. Ooh, we've got a big old something happening. Curse of Arnrare from that Lore of Beast Sorcerer is going to significantly impact melee stats. And the Dragon's going to go for the snipe on Scrag. Try and take him out. Chill of Centaur going to body block, get that Frostbite in there. Yeah, Scrag is now in huge trouble. And the Cold One Knights and the Bleak Swords are doing very well, kind of cleaning up this pocket right here. A lot of the Ogre's ranged units, yeah, you can see kind of double stacked here, having some line of sight issues, not firing properly into these fights. That is, of course, one of the biggest remaining issues with this game, in my opinion, is especially gun units having major line of sight issues to the point of being semi-not usable in many situations. Yeah, it's unfortunate as an enjoyer of gun units and factions. But the Man-Eater is certainly potent in melee, especially the Powder Guts here. They're going to get in and maul these Doomfire Warlocks who are trying to take them out. Best can just bog them down. Dismember being used on these Cold One Knights here, trying to bail out this other Man-Eater. But plenty of Cold One Knights continue following up as Scrag has been slaughtered. The firing of the Lead Belters into this fight, not going to be able to help save him as the Dreadlord's Dragon just absolutely eats him. And with him off the field, I think he does actually fully die here. Yep. He's just real sleepy boy, taking a nap with his cauldron here. And with him down, that is going to be a huge leadership impact, obviously. But still, balance power, well, it was relatively even right until just now. It's starting to shift pretty dramatically as all the cavalry and infantry begin to run down what's left of the Lead Belchers and the Man-Eaters. They're going to try and pull back here, but Curse of Arnrare does actually lower speed as well as everything else in terms of melee attack and defense, I should say. Yeah, so let's see. The Powder Gut's not going to be able to get away, so they just turn around and countercharge there. You get a pretty decent charge on those Bleak Swords, and that is one of the biggest issues here. It's just like charging bulls, which we actually didn't see here, tend to just clock and destroy most light Dark Elf infantry, so yeah, I do think the build composition for Calamity wasn't what he needed in this particular battle, but credit to Rider of Rohan taking a relatively unorthodox build. I just really like the pick of the Crossbow Dreadlord here. Such an unusual pick, but a solid one for sure. Like, I definitely see a lot of benefits to it. Being able to generate value at a distance, not having to commit too much to melee until you have the right situation, and then when you do, you can obviously get quite a bit of work done. Yeah, these fancy Powder Guts, their flashy outfits, continuing to fight, but getting charged down by the Knights, Dragon, And that will be victory for the Dark Elves. I actually got sent like a whole series, best of 3 between Calamity and Rider Rohan, so we'll definitely be casting that all the games at some point, just going through the various ones. But yeah, ultimately, relatively quick victory for Rider Rohan as he's able to rush down Calamity and take out his ranged units here. Yeah, the Ogre pistols didn't really do much here. The Man-Eaters, Lead Belchers do manage to pay for themselves, but the rest of these ranged units, it's pretty tough, and all this infantry gets destroyed as well, which is one of the things why, yes, it's maybe catches someone off guard if they went with too much anti-large. Conversely, I think a lot of people are starting to expect mass Noblars and will take appropriate chaff clearing tools. Here, the Chill of Sontar, although it didn't get much raw value, 11,000 damage dealt, about 1,000 damage value is respectable for sure, but the Terror, super key in keeping those low-tier Noblar units routed, and especially being able to follow up with these cavalry here. We see great value on at least one of the Cold One Knights, pretty good on another one here. Doomfire Warlocks, also respectable, nearly 1,000 damage value. And then some of the Bleak Swords also get in, and again, the volume of Bleak Swords, 4 versus just 1 spear. Might not think about that, you know, against the Ogres. You might think you might need more anti-large, but actually, again, because people expect so much chaff clearing is going to be necessary, makes sense. I almost think against Dark Elves, you might be better served to just take Bulls instead of Pickback Riders, because their mass and charge tends to do much better against Dark Elf infantry, low-tier infantry. They're still going to have a hard time against Cold One Knights, but we saw the Noblars there weren't able really to be effective despite their anti-large against the Cold One Knights, so definitely comes down to a lot of positioning and engagements in that way. But yeah, overall, let's just finish here with a little bit more thoughts on the Dreadlord Sword and Crossbow. Dark Elves have a lot of Lord choices, and most of them are good. I mean, I would say probably all of them are at least usable in certain situations. But that's not the one we're looking for here. Yes, the Dreadlord Sword and Crossbow. So the range damage isn't insane. It is 2 projectiles of 140 armor piercing each every 12 seconds. Not great, and only 125 range. But again, benefit is that if he's on, like, the dragon, for example, right, then he can just passively kind of generate value in the air. He has both the breath attack and the shooting attack, and as mentioned in the replay, doesn't need to commit to replays, or, commit to melee engagements to be able to generate at least a little bit of value. That volley of dark arrows, I think it's basically just Arrows of Kurnos, if I'm not mistaken. Arrows of Kurnos might be slightly better. But let's pull up here the Wood Elves with the Waystalker. So Arrows of Kurnos is 3 projectiles, 160, 150. I believe this is the same. 3 projectiles, 120, 150, so slightly less damage. But yeah, basically it can be used in a very similar way. I don't know with the homing. I haven't tried it too much against, yeah, 160, 150. So 120, 150. Yeah, just a little bit less base ranged damage and 100% armor piercing, both. So again, I'd be curious to see with the range on this being 200 meters, you could maybe use this to like take out some artillery or take out some multi-model infantry, as we saw there. It's another tool to help clear out some chaff. He also does have the Guiding Eye, which will give a little bit of armor piercing missile damage on an active. Probably not worth the cost. Pearl of Infinite Blackness does give immune to Psychology in an AoE, which is pretty nice, but it's actually maybe less useful for the Dark Elves than it is for others. Your high-end halberds already have immune to Psychology, and as do the Hargoneth's Executioners. Witch Elves have Frenzy, which doesn't necessarily give them immune to Psychology, but in general, because they have Elven Leadership, they're not going to be in a lot of situations where the Terror will matter as much. So, yeah, wouldn't worry about that Pearl of Infinite Blackness. But yeah, relatively cheap. $22.50 for just the arrows. Dragon Mount is a pretty decently cheap Lord considering how much potential value you can get out of him. It has no ability to heal himself, unlike, say, Malekith or Lokir, but still can be a formidable combatant, certainly. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.